Hey guys, I wanted to try something different in this video. I wanted to share a story that happened back in 2014 when we first opened a Jeep shop, and about an old 1965 CJ5 that was brought to us as a project. It took roughly 3 years to complete this project, and over the 3 years I've collected enough pictures and videos to create one full video that I'm about to share with you guys. It was originally brought to us by a gentleman that just wanted to do a lift kit. After we completed the lift kit, as you can see here, he decided to bring it back to us for full frame restoration. When the Jeep showed up again, we truly had no idea what was in store for the build. The Jeep was in really rough shape between it not running right, misfiring, having a hard time stopping, having no power brakes, having no power steering, and basically an old Chevy V8 283 that was incorrectly rebuilt, that was falling apart and had no compression. We knew that eventually every nut and bolt had to be addressed one way or the other, so we started off by pulling the motor out and sending it out to a machine shop. The interior has definitely seen some better days. It was in really rough shape. A lot of rust, a lot of paint missing, a lot of components missing. None of the gauges worked. Stuff was falling out of everywhere, and there was wires randomly going to places. None of the sending units were functioning either. And there was some problem with the fuel tank as well. So we started off by just sanding everything down. Shortly after, we ended up getting in trouble by the city and had to lease a place of our own in a commercial zoned area. With the help of a friend, we were able to find a small commercial zoned place, and it was really inexpensive, so we were able to move in right away. Our goal was to finish the CJ and meanwhile work on other projects to get the rent paid. We quickly ordered the lift, we got that installed as you can see here. We separated the body and the frame, and we went on to the body work. We went on to sanding everything down, sanding the frame down, and getting everything prepped for the full frame restoration. We flipped the frame upside down and had to re-weld some of the spots that had failed welds over the years of use. We also boxed in the frame in a lot of areas to make it stronger and make it ready for that V8. Some things had to be cut off completely and re-welded and remade. Some of the plates were really worn out and just incorrectly placed, so we had to remove them. The body was in really bad shape, as you could see here. Some cancer spots throughout, some missing pieces. We were hoping to order an all-new aluminum body from Jeep, but that wasn't an option. The customer wanted to keep the original and have it repaired. We started cutting away and making sure that all the bad spots were gone. Anything that was suspect of rust was removed and replaced with new fresh metal. As you can see, the primer spots around the taillights here, they were completely rusted out, so we had to cut those pieces out, weld in new metal, follow the body lines, and make it look like it was never there before. We hired some help as we were starting to fall behind on timeline of this project, and we also needed to get work done to keep the roof over our heads and get the bills paid. Some places were upgraded to stronger metal. He suggested reinforcing the underneath a little bit better than the factory, so we used some thicker metal and some more of it to make sure that the floorboards were really strong. In order to accommodate for the new V8 driveline and the transmission and everything, we had to do more work inside the body. We had to make an all-new custom transmission tunnel from scratch, basically piecing a bunch of metal together, cutting some shapes and corners to make it all work together. The shop was starting to look messy. It was starting to look like a real shop with a lot of work going on, but we're still working on mainly that one project and a few other projects, like I said, to keep us afloat. Once the body work was done, we decided to outsource the body to Linex to get it completely Linexed in and out. You could see a big truck that came to pick up the body, and that's the last time we saw it for quite some time. We went on working on the frame. We 415 the entire thing so it wouldn't rust again. We made sure it was all completely boxed in the areas where it needed to be boxed in with some extra metal. We cut off all the unnecessary plates and we cleaned up some welds that needed to be cleaned up and reinforced. We picked up slightly wider axles from a newer CJ that had disc brakes in the front and had a center pumpkin differential in the rear that could support the power of the V8. We started tearing into them, and these axles were not easy to work with. They were really old, rusted, and needed a lot of work. They needed complete rebuild, both front and rear. And as you can see here, the AMC 20 was completely torn apart. The front axle had to also be disassembled, the ball joints were replaced, every single component was upgraded and replaced with something better and stronger. POR15, or otherwise known as POR15, is a great coating for axle housings, and we're using it here. So we got 1965 CJ frame coated with 1978, 79 axles underneath with disc brakes in the front and center drop in the rear, allowing this to be a wider wheel mounting surface with an AMC 20 in the back and the newer Dana 30 in the front. We sourced the disc brake conversion kit for the AMC 20 to have disc brakes all around, which was a cool feature of the CJ. We also picked up a fully rebuilt SM465 heavy-duty transmission with a granular first gear, exactly what the customer wanted. Here we have the motor, the transmission, the bell housing, and the transfer case all assembled. The transfer case we picked out was a Dana 300 that was later rebuilt by us as well. You can see better in this picture. In the driveline, we went with Tatton driveline, Spicer U-joints, and custom DOM high-speed balanced drive shaft. We finally got the body back from Linex a few months later. It looked beautiful. Customer picked just the right colors for this build.
Oh, you got fuel?
That motor took a lot of custom parts from Summit to get running, and we also built a custom exhaust for it using Magnafull mufflers. All the electrical had to be ran from scratch, so we used 0-gauge wire from the battery of the starter, and all the main cables were 0. We chose to go with the Universal 21 Circuit Speedway wiring harness for this build. It worked out really great. As you can see here, there's a lot of wiring that had to be connected. Took quite some time. I believe it was a little bit over 20 hours to wire the entire Jeep. Here's the factory looking fuse box that's also made by Speedway. It's part of this wiring harness that's really nice. Comes with the flasher relays and everything you need. All the fuses are included. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeep's Unclassified just completed a 1965 CJ5 full frame restoration. So this thing barely ran when it was brought to us, had no compression, it was falling apart, complete rust bucket. It was yellow, kind of orangey yellow, mostly rust though. And it had drum brakes all the way around, had an old beat up Chevy 283 inside, and factory transfer case, stock factory 3-speed manual transmission, puny narrow axles that came on these Jeeps that weren't really designed for much, nor were they good up to nowadays standards. So back bumper with a spare tire carrier, brand new tailgate piece as the original one was beyond repair. 2.5-inch lift with the 1/2-inch lift shackles. This is a Pro Comp suspension lift.
and we went ahead and upgraded to an AMC 20 rear axle out of a newer CJ. It's wider. We went with SSBC rear disc brake kit, nitro differential cover. We did a True Track, Detroit True Track or Eaton True Track, limited slip, gear gym, limited slip. This whole axle was rebuilt. Everything inside is refreshed, all new bearings and seals and so forth. Every nut and bolt. What else? We did LED taillights and stretched the wheelbase 3 inches, I believe, in the rear. So now the leaf spring mounts are all the way where they probably should have been from the factory, and it gives it a nice stance, a little more clearance and a little bit nicer on your back. All right, moving forward, we got custom drive shaft, front and rear, from Tatton Driveline Services. SM465 transmission from a Chevy, and fully rebuilt. We also have a Dana 20 transfer case with a custom transmission and transfer case cross member. Here's a custom exhaust that was made for the V8, both sides, dual exhaust. Looking on the inside, we have Corbeau seats that we went with. Linex quartz gray on the inside and Chevy orange on the outside to match the Chevy V8 engine. It's gonna be 2 fuel tanks. For now, it's just one under the seat, but the customer will put in another one for to extend the range. We put a new dash in, new gauges, made custom shifters for both the Dana 20 transfer case and the SM465. A roll cage was redesigned and built for a back seat in mind. At some point, he will have a back seat in there. Moving forward from there, we did all custom electrical. There is a wire that's kind of in there for now. It's a temporary wire for an additional temperature gauge that was used during the break-in. That'll be gone. There's a fuse box here. There's a lot of stuff underneath the battery, solenoid, kill switch, and a few other things. And we have the Chevy V8 that was fully rebuilt, and the little present that went into it was a mild cam, so you could probably feel it and hear it. That was a little surprise we did for our customers. Put a cam in there and surprised them with that. Poly carburetor, everything brand new. Power brakes with a booster, dual diaphragm booster, and a Chevy or GM style master cylinder. Aluminum radiator. Still kept the mechanical fan. Optima battery, winch, Smitty built winch. A little more on the engine. There's brakes. Up front, we went ahead and put a Dana 30 from a 79 CJ that's wider, and it came with disc brakes. The front axle was fully rebuilt with Detroit True Track and 410 gears, 410 G2 gears. Also custom front drive shaft made by Tatton Driveline Services. Wheels and tires, BFG all-terrain KO2 33 by 12.5 with Pro Comp steel wheels, 15-inch. GM style proportion valve, horn. Master cylinder for the clutch. We had to make a custom slave using Willwood for this transmission. It came out really nice. Fortunately, can't really be seen from any of these angles, but It's in there. Custom pedals, all by Willwood, all aluminum, lightweight, custom bracket, custom steering shaft, custom linkages pretty much throughout for everything. There's a temperature gauge that we're using as an auxiliary temperature gauge in addition to the new factory one for braking purposes. Headlight switch. There is an original gas tank inlet, and we also added an additional one for when the customer puts in the rear gas tank, so he has 2 tanks at that point to have extra range. Most likely we'll get rock sliders in the near future, a metal hardtop, and a back seat.
Well, there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video of the 1965 CJ5 custom build from full frame and up restoration. I have a little bit more footage that I can put together a few more videos similar to this one of other projects that we did. If you guys are interested in seeing those, leave some comments below. Be sure to hit that sub and like button. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.